Yeah, I'll go ahead and get started since we're at the requisite time. Are we all good on the Zoom and everything, Brandy? Yep. Okay. So hi, I'm John Meyer. For those who don't know me, I do a lot with IT. Is the short version. This year and the past year, past years that I'll kind of go over, we've been on a journey to focus on dealing with our IT problem as it relates to SIO. And really what I'm interested in purposes of this discussion is sort of open forum and talk about how others in the fleet are dealing with similar issues that may have come up after kind of giving an overview of where we've been. And really, we've been probably trying to tackle this problem for about 7 years in earnest. So I'll kind of go over that. Next slide. And then as always, thanks to our sponsors, in this case, NSF, ONR, and leadership at UC San Diego really stepped up to help us deal with this issue. And a little bit different that compared to some other operators, we're dealing with 3 problems at once right now. We've got our normal NSF OCE program, also sponsored by ONR, where we're dealing with the day-to-day function of 3 ships that Scripps operates for Bellwright and Sproul. But we've also got the START project that we work on with OSU and UW, and SIO is the lead on the cyber component of that. And we've been dealing with the Coast Guard ratcheting up DISA standards, Defense Information Security Act, or something, I forget what the A is, it's not act, it's administration maybe, yeah. And really what it comes down to for the Coast Guard is they want to increasingly treat their network as controlled and classified information, not just any sort of open network like we do on our ships. And so that's been amplifying some of our problem. And in parallel, we're also on we got funded with state funding to build a new research vessel, the Coastal Class research vessel, and we're working with Trusted CI to build that from the ground up. So that's sort of the problem domain we sought to tackle. Next slide. Here's the short version. We keep having technology use on the ship, both for IT and increasingly OT. We keep getting a lot of requests for ship's engine control servers to be networked for remote troubleshooting, things like that, more remote support needed, winches, everything. We got more core infrastructure and crew needs than we've seen before. We keep getting more instrumentation. We keep getting more cybersecurity audit requirements. In particular, IMO 21 was a big one that caught our attention part of this journey. And our resource, we're staffed, we have traditionally staffed a little bit differently in that we had a science support technician that was specific to instrument, and we sort of wedged cyber into that. But as more of these needs ratcheted up, the more strained that became. And another factor that was a big one for us was increases in bandwidth have, and frankly the pandemic, really have helped highlight the ability to do a lot of remote work, not all, but a lot. So next slide, I'll walk through just some of I'll go through this fast, we can back up to it if anybody wants to talk about any of it. But basically, we got a new ship. We overhauled some other ships and platforms. Our own university started making noise about cybersecurity maturity model certification and the need to apply that to grants, as well as charters, like the charter we had for Ride and Rebel with the Navy. We saw experiments happen with high-speed internet boosting starting in 2017. That continued onward into 2019. And we also started doing engagements with Trusted CI about cyber, and part of the reason Mike was up here was an outcome of that engagement. So then onward to 2020.
Oh, that's another slide then.
That's another slide, yeah. We had a midlife where we had to overhaul our ship. We had introduced clusters to ships in 2016. But we started doing virtual desktops for our instrumentation systems as well as our crew workstations for reliability reasons. Obviously, we had an increased emphasis on remote work. And we really saw a ratcheting up of communications uptime during that time. We also started acknowledging that we were having difficulty finding IT specialists that wanted to sail, and being in the ship world was not necessarily a career endpoint for them. They wanted options for doing other things within the scope of their career. And they were increasingly viewing coming to the ship world as, one, not necessarily competitive pay-wise, and two, perhaps, sort of a dead end in terms of options career-wise. So we started shifting our focus with that remote work capability and hiring technicians to focus back on instrumentation. We're in the process, and I should have put it in here, we're in the process of hiring ETOs for our large ships, help bridge some of that gap, have career ETOs as remote hands on ship, and obviously been focusing on remote work. In 21, we had International Maritime Organization regulations upon us that amplified the need for IT support, especially for our ship crew, partially due to the pandemic, partially due to other circumstances. We started having some staff attrition in our IT related areas, and we started getting an amplification of the Coast Guard really wanting to work on securing their Healy environment. That brings us to more modern times, which is another slide. Yes, all right, we're synced now. And we've talked about this at some meetings, but we actually got a non-conformance report from the U.S. Coast Guard for our Nimitz Marine facility. And our facility security plan, which it's just us and UH that are required to do that, and this time in UNOLS, but that's tied to our ship plans, and so that was a big problem for us. We had to clear that NCR to be able to continue to operate both our ships and our facility. So that's really what sort of ratcheted up an effort to form our ship CIS team. In parallel, we started working in earnest on Coastal Class research vessel, and sort of related in parallel, I started getting a lot of ratcheting up from our campus security for actually reviewing POs for data exfiltration and some other IT security related things, which caused a lot of delays in some cases. That's getting better now, but last year was painful. So beginning of this year, we formed our team, Ship Cyber Infrastructure Services. The broad plan is we've got somebody who's responsible for each ship, but the reality is we work modularly, and each of those analysts support each other in the various ship activities. I already covered this in the intro slide, so I won't go over that again, but we've got multiple scopes of work that we care about. We did manage through this effort to get our non-conformance report cleared. We had a year to clear it, and we reached that a month or two before the deadline. So comfortable, but not as comfortable as we wanted to be. And a big thanks to OmniSoc. They did help us with our cyber risk management plan, which is a key component of that. We're also getting better awareness and engagement with campus because we've integrated IT into our division within UC San Diego. Our IT director for our division, the Scripps IT director, is able to advocate for our division, which now includes ships as a key component of the fundamental research mission. And so that's been very effective in making sure that ships are properly being advocated for as part of the overall objectives for SIO. We're working with Trusted CI on CCRB. That's been productive. And currently working on procurement for solving the Coast Guard issues that I've mentioned. We're also coming up with plans to network ships OT, which turns out there's products for that, and pretty excited about what the future holds in that regard, just in terms of keeping our ships functional, but networking them in a safe way. In order to do things like there's a little box you can buy, it turns out, which will download digital chart data and upload them to your ship's ECDIS. And this problem in terms of security has already been thought about, and it's a commercial product that's available. So we're learning things like that as we go. And so that's I think it. Next slide. Really, I wanted to open up the room for discussion because we've been dealing with this problem. Obviously, we've been dealing with a lot of problems. I know there's concern in the community about how do the various institutions deal with it. So I'm hoping to generate some discussion, give some people ideas about where we've been, and hear from others, and hopefully generate more ideas for the community. I've got a couple proposed topics of discussion on the next slide. Thank you. So I won't read through them, but if anybody wants to talk about any of these as a Kickstarter to this, I'm happy to do that. And yeah, let's hear from you guys.
I think you have to read through that, because I don't know anybody.
Trying to keep you from talking. So. Well, it's obviously not working. All questions and ideas are welcome. Really it's just we're trying to assess where we're at. Where's your institution at in this journey? Are there IT needs not mentioned here? The stuff that Scripps hasn't been dealing with that you're concerned about? A topic we're passionate about is balancing good quality instrumentation that's care and fed for, as well as science support and IT. Curious to talk about how various institutions are thinking about that problem. How are you dealing with IMO 2021 regulations? How are you dealing with cybersecurity maturity model certification? Especially if you've got a institution that deals with DoD funded stuff, that's going to come up sooner or later at your institution. Controlled unclassified information. One thing we learned in working more closely with our ship ops team is that our facility security plan is controlled unclassified information upon being filled out, and it's definitely not being stored where it should be at this time. We've got a plan for that. Work is pending. Network segmentation is something we're a big fan of. So if we want to talk about that, happy to. And networking operational technology for remote support. That is a road we're going down right now. But really, any topic welcome. Again, those are just topics I could think of. So more legibility in technical discussion. I tried. Don't come to the high seas net plenary then. Yes.
The ships that you have, do you operate mostly layer 2, layer 3? How do you organize your?
Right now, the way we organize our ships is they all talk to the same core firewall, which we want to change that design-wise, but we segment things out to 128 different VLANs. They're not all in use right now, but anticipating we're going to network up more OT networks, we allocated that much space.
What core per ship? One core on each ship?
One.
You said you got everything going in one core.
Yes, I'm sorry. So each ship, same design, 3 ships. Yeah. Each with 128 VLANs. In use right now, it's probably more like 20 to 30. But when we have a new need where we're like, oh gosh, should that be able to talk to other things? We don't have a big issue of like, okay, we'll throw that on its own dedicated network. We don't have to care as much. Yes.
So, what do you think when you guys have some staff that are dedicated just to IT?
Mm-hmm.
A lot of ships don't have that. What do you think are the chances of many ships being able to buy, focus on things like CMMC? Well, I guess a lot of ships aren't CMMC, but handling CUI properly and connecting the OT system, proper segmentation without dedicated IT staff. Who do nothing but IT?
I guess I would characterize our operation as dense. We do a lot. So our solution doesn't necessarily apply to everyone. At the same time, the crux of the discussion we had when we got to the non-conformance report from the Coast Guard was, okay, we need to pivot and come up with a new approach that's going to address the issues that we haven't been doing before. And that's really what tipped us over on deciding that, okay, it's time to commit to dedicated IT staff for this problem.
I'm curious.
Yeah.
I get the sense, and this is a sense, and so I'd like to hear from you guys, that for a lot of you, the institutions treat you as like not a problem, not their problem anyway, like take care of your own. Are you getting pressure to comply with things from your institution and then also not getting support from your institution to do that compliance, or is that a hurdle that anybody is facing?
That was our hurdle. for sure.
Yeah. I heard a yes.
Yeah.
So you,
I mean, here's the central, whatever you want to call them,